Hey everyone, this is Ty. I am going to be doing a prediction on Bitcoin. Realistically, where could Bitcoin go? And then we're also going to compare it to gold. So if there's anything on the market right now, it would be gold that we need to compare Bitcoin to. But really, realistically, where could Bitcoin go? We hear on the news all the time Bitcoin might be $1 million per coin or $500,000 in 3 years. But realistically, where could Bitcoin go? So jumping right into it, we're going to look at the pros of each to compare each one. So Bitcoin does have a limited amount of resources. After it's all mined, it's going to be about 21 million Bitcoins. Uh, Unlike fiat, where we can just print as much fiat as we want, so Bitcoin is limited. It's easily transferable. I can send someone across the world $1 billion, $1 million, $1,000 Bitcoin with very low fees. So it's very easily transferable. Now, Bitcoin is looking more and more like a store of value as people are seeing all these currency crashes. Like Venezuela, there was an article of them getting into Bitcoin because they're seeing their currency crash. So more and more people are looking at Bitcoin as a store of value. It's easily divisible. I can send someone zero point zero zero 0.001 Bitcoin. So really any amount of Bitcoins up to 8 decimal points on Bitcoin. So I can divide it as much as I want. It's easily converted, so I can convert it to goods or fiat very easily. I can have my exchange direct deposit me money into my bank account, or I could buy goods on it on certain vendors. So I can buy goods or convert it to fiat very easily. It's easily stored. I can store $1 billion of Bitcoin on a flash drive. So any amount, it does not require really any space. Now, going into gold, gold has limited resources. They estimate there's about 171,000 tons of gold outside the ground with 52,000 to go. So by the time it's all done, it'll be about 223,000 tons. So there is limited resources. Anything with value needs to have limited resources. And the biggest thing gold has going for it, it's been looked at as valuable for thousands and thousands of years. So ever since we can think back in history, gold has been looked at as extremely valuable and a precious resource. Big thing is gold is a hedge against inflation. So if a lot of people are seeing currency crashes or they're looking at inflation, they want to get in gold because if you're having hyperinflation, really isn't inflated because there's limited resources on it, and so it's always looked at as a hedge against inflation versus having your money in fiat and being devalued every year. Now, gold is accepted worldwide, so you could go to any country, anybody, everybody knows what gold is. Some people could say Bitcoin is accepted worldwide, but I would argue it really kind of isn't. There's some countries that outlaw it, and then a lot of people still just don't know what Bitcoin is. So I wouldn't really put that as a pro on Bitcoin, whereas it really is kind of accepted worldwide. So now the cons on both. The biggest con with Bitcoin is it's really not a proven value. Bitcoin's like right at 8 years old, so that's way too new to say it's valuable. Also, we do put a value on it, but there's no telling if it's going to be valuable 10 years from now. I think it will personally, but it's just too new to really, there's no proven value on it. Uh, Everybody says Bitcoin is decentralized, but I would beg to argue on that. It is kind of centralized with the miners. So the miners do have kind of control of Bitcoin, where you can see the fork that happened with Bitcoin Cash. And so there's only a few miners that control Bitcoin. It's not a huge amount of people. And you could really see them messing up Bitcoin, doing continued forks and really messing with Bitcoin. I think that's one of the biggest cons about Bitcoin is the centralized control with the miners. Now, Bitcoin really isn't hackable, but in the future, there is possible hacks with quantum computing. You can read all about that. That is one of a worry for Bitcoin. And then there's also a 51% attack as well. And gold, you can't really hack it. So the cons with gold is it's difficult to transfer. If I want to transfer $1 billion in gold, you can't really transfer it across countries, and it would take a lot of space. So it's not very easily transferable. Now, it is kind of difficult to store if you have a significant amount of it, and so Uh, if you have over $1 million in gold, you need a lot of safes, and it is kind of difficult to store. It's difficult to spend. I can't just go and spend it online or spend it over at 7-Eleven. So you can convert it to fiat with exchanges, like gold exchanges, but it's kind of difficult to spend and convert to fiat. I think one of the biggest things is it's manipulated. Whether you think that or not, I do believe it's manipulated, and there's plenty of stuff out there that shows that it is manipulated. So I do think the gold price is suppressed. Now we're going to look at Litecoin just so you can kind of have a comparison to the Bitcoin market cap. And the reason why we're looking at Litecoin is even Charlie Lee says Litecoin is kind of the silver to Bitcoin in the digital world. So looking at the market cap of both, is Litecoin has about a $4 billion market cap, where gold has about a $14 billion market cap. And really, you can see Litecoin is making some headway on that and probably will pass silver. So I think that's pretty interesting. Looking at the market cap with Bitcoin and gold, huge difference between Litecoin and silver and Bitcoin and gold. So currently, Bitcoin has about a $79 billion market cap, where they think gold is about 7.8 trillion. Now keep in mind that's just the physical gold out of the ground. That's not all the ETFs, the derivatives, which could be in over $50 trillion, who knows. So that's just the physical gold outside of the ground. That's not all the derivatives of gold. So you can see there's a huge difference on the chart of where Bitcoin is to gold, where if Bitcoin caught up, we'll kind of look at that and see. Now, if they had the same market caps, this is what each one would actually be. So if Litecoin had the same market cap as silver, we'd look at it a $14 billion market cap, which I think is very achievable, probably in the next couple of years. So each Litecoin would be worth $265, where it's worth about $75 currently. Now, Bitcoin market cap, if it equaled gold, we'd be looking at a market cap of $7.8 trillion. So each Bitcoin would be worth $471,000. Close to that $500,000 mark. I know a lot of people saw McAfee talk about Bitcoin being $500,000 in 3 years, and I think that's kind of where he was getting. He was looking at it with gold and equaling it to gold. So do I think that it could pass gold or equal gold? Yeah, why not? I think that if you look at the pros and cons, I think Bitcoin actually might have arguably better pros than cons with gold when you compare the two. Now we're going to look at future predictions of where Bitcoin could really be in the next few years. And now there's no telling on this, but we're just going to kind of look at it. And I started in 2012, actually 2011 versus 2010, because the percentage was just insane from 2010 to 2011. So we're going to look at the last 6 years. So as you can see, we have the 20%, 1,260%, 252%, and then we had a minus 52%. But anyways, what I did was I just equaled all the percentages and then averaged them out for the last 6 years. So we had an average of 395%. We can look at the graph and see how much Bitcoin is growing. Now, there was an article where Bitcoin's users double every year. So I do think Bitcoin is growing exponentially, because there was an article where Bitcoin's users are doubling every year. So let's look at the next few years at the average 395%. This year's been really good, but we have no idea how good the next few years are going to be. And this is going to be kind of crazy. Its exponential growth is pretty insane. So if you can look, right now we're at a 4,800 Bitcoin. If we had the same amount of growth at the same time in 2018, we're looking at Bitcoin being about $24,000. So same amount of growth, we're looking in 2019, you're looking at Bitcoin being $117,000. Same amount of growth, 2020, you're looking at $583,000. And also, I think this is kind of where McAfee was getting the $500,000 Bitcoin in 3 years, where definitely could be possible. So if we continue the same growth, which there's no telling, but if we do continue the same growth, we would be at $500,000, over $500,000 Bitcoin this time next in 3 years. And then it just gets absolutely ridiculous. So in 2021, if we had the same amount of growth, Bitcoin would be at about $2.9 million. That would make it at a $47.8 trillion market cap. Do I think it's going to be there in 4 years? I personally do not. Do I think it's going to be at $500,000 in 3 years? I personally don't, but all these statistics look pretty good on the growth. We actually, it is feasible that we could be there at 500,000 in 2020. I would absolutely love that, being very heavily invested in Bitcoin. So my conclusion to this is Bitcoin going to be at $500,000 in 3 years? Who the heck knows? Who knows? If we're looking at this average growth, yes, we will be there in 3 years, or we'll be at $2.9 million in 4 years. So I just wanted to do this. I thought it was interesting with the comparison of Bitcoin, and there's so much talk where Bitcoin could actually be in 1, 2, 3 years. So if we look at the average, really what's feasible where Bitcoin's going to be, I do have high hopes for Bitcoin, and I think there's high potential with Bitcoin. So we'll see what happens, and the future should be looking bright for it.